It's playoff time, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another video here on MDK, and today we're gonna go over playoff predictions and predict which drivers will be eliminated in each round and who will be the championship for in racing in Miami, and who will eventually become the 2018 Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series champion. Now, before we go on, let's talk about the drivers that are currently in the playoffs. So Kyle Busch leads out the field. He is the regular season champion and is currently, so he earns 15 extra bonus points, which gives him a total of 65 points ahead of Kevin Harvick, who's in second with 50 playoff points. Mark Scheer Jr. in third with 35 points. Brad Keselowski in fourth with 2019. Clint Bowyer at fifth, 2015 points. Joey Logano in sixth, 2014 points, as well as Kurt Busch. Chase Elliott with 2008 points. Ryan Blaney in ninth with 2007 points. Eric Jones, Austin Dillon, and Kyle Larson all with 2005 points. Denny Hamlin with 2003 points, and Eric Almirola, who only has one playoff point, I believe, it has 2001 points, with Jimmy Johnson and Alex Bowman. The only two drivers that have not scored playoff points, they just get 2,000. Now, what I'm going to do is, for the round of 16, I'm not going to show any stats or stuff like that. It's just going to go based off of, you know, what the driver has done over the course of the season. So the first three races in the round of 16, you start off in a mile and a half at Vegas. Then you go to a short track under the lights on a Saturday night, Richmond International, or Richmond Raceway, I guess I should say. And then we ended off with one of the most bizarre races this season, the Charlotte Roval, the Bank of America 400K, I think it's called. Will end out the round of 16. So here are the drivers that I believe will be eliminated. First off, the 200 drivers, Jimmy Johnson and Alex Bowman. Those two had not found any speed all season long. They've had glimpses, but never a really good run. Like Jimmy Johnson, he only has two top fives, Pocono in the spring and fifth in the 600. And Alex Bowman, he hasn't had speed all season long. The third driver that'll be out is Austin Dillon. Aside from his 500 win, he has had little to no success, has not been running the top 10 often. He had a good run at Michigan, but that was really it that I know of him having a good run. And finally, the driver that'll be out, the 16th, or the fourth driver out of the round of 16, some might call it controversial, but I see Ryan Blaney out in the round of 16. He hasn't just shown speed on a consistent basis all season long, really. Some races he's good, some races he's bad, and I don't know what the competition is and the drivers that are in the playoffs. I just don't see Blaney being able to keep up with the drivers and stay in the round of 16. But again, because of that Roval, I could be completely wrong. Johnson could pull off an upset. Who knows? I don't know. But yeah, those are drivers I believe will be out in the round of 16. Now let's move on to the round of 12. The round of 12 is a lot easier. You start the round in the Monster Mile at Dover. You then head to Talladega, the Super Speedway, and then you cap it off in Kansas. So we got a 1 mile concrete, a Super Speedway, and a mile and a half track. So the drivers that I believe will be eliminated in this one will be Joey Logano. I'm looking this off of here. So if my eyes shift, I'm just reading it off of the list that I made. Will be Joey Logano, Eric Jones, Denny Hamlin, and Eric Almirola. Now, Hamlin might be a bit controversial. Some drivers said, or some people will say after Indianapolis, he should be an underrated driver. Again, on a consistent basis, I just don't see it happening. These three tracks have not been Hamlin's best. He has not run well at When I say best, I mean compared to other drivers. I feel like I just don't see him improving really to be able to keep up and stay in the top 8. Jones, again, he has shown glimpses. He has that one at Daytona. He has been running well the last couple races on the under the radar sort of level. But again, you have to. I just don't see Jones being a front runner as well as Hamlin. I see Hamlin being in the top 10, like in 9th or 10th position. I just don't see him being in the top 5 running in contending, as well as Jones. I don't see him contending top 5. Joey Logano, he has had from his win at Talladega, he has just not had the season that I was expecting. Again, he's Team Penske, Brad Keselowski, he has come to life, but Joey Logano, he just hasn't shown any consistent speed. He run well at Darlington. He has run well in some of the past few races, but again, you need to be on a consistent basis if you're going to contend for a championship in this format. And the last driver I said, Aric Almirola, he's a top 12 driver I see at Stewart-Haas Racing. Not maybe in a year or so he might get to winning form. I just don't see him winning a race this season. He could have had it at Chicagoland, but I see him being just a top 12 car. No, I just feel like that's the season he's gonna have, really. I haven't seen anything bad happen to him. I also haven't seen any like, I don't know, like showings of a playoff contender from Aric Almirola to advance into the round of 8. Yeah, again, that's probably controversial with Hamlin. Now the drivers that I see as we go into the round of just spat on my mat. The round of 8 will have another 3 tracks that will be kind of mundane. We start off the round of 8 at Martinsville. Obviously, if you know what happened last year, we were in for a treat. We then head on to Texas, the Texas Motor Speedway. Then we cap off at Phoenix, or ISM Raceway. And even though the start-finish lines moved from the front stretch or off of turn 4 to now off of turn 1, that is going to change the race, in my opinion. Just that start-finish line. That start-finish, in my opinion, will change how drivers attack the track. So that could make it a pretty interesting race. Now, these 4 drivers, some people might agree with me on this one. I feel like Chase Elliott will be out in the round of 8. I just don't see him being able to contend, again, top 5 week in and week out. I just don't see that happening. Another driver that I think will be out is Kurt Busch. Again, he's a consistent driver, but like a top 10, top 8. I just don't see him top 5 and contending week in and week out. I don't see that happening. Another driver, Kyle Larson. I don't know. Kyle Larson, I feel like he has speed. He just needs luck. And I feel like they might be able to turn it in this playoffs. These tracks are good to him. He's good at some of these tracks. So it's not like he's not able to contend with them. He is. I just feel like he has a better car than, Hamlin, Almirola. I feel like if he has a good car, he can blow by through the field. He had a great run at Darlington. He had some great races lately, the past few races. He has had some awesome runs. That's why, and I think that will carry that into the playoffs. He will advance in the round of 16 and 12. 8, maybe he might advance to the round of 8. I see that happening, but he won't advance to the round of 4. I think you're just gonna have to be in contention for a win against, Keselowski, Boyer, Harvick, Kyle. You just have to be a winning contender to contend for a championship in Miami. Okay, so I forgot to mention Kurt Busch. I believe he'll also be knocked out of the round of 8. Similar reasons to the other drivers that I mentioned before. He is a consistent driver, but he's just not champion. He doesn't have a championship 4 type season, and I don't think he'll be able to have a championship, be a championship playoff contender this season. Again, he will have a good season. Top 8 I see him in, but I just don't see him advancing into the championship 4. And finally, some people might call me crazy on this one, but some people were saying that the big 3 were going to be in Miami. I say no. I say at least one driver won't make him, and that will be the 78 car, Martin Truex Jr. I don't know, the past 5-6 races, the 78 car has just not been there. He's just not been there. Unlike the big 3 of Harvick, or unlike Harvick and Kyle Busch. He just has not been there. I don't know if it's because of the announcement of Front Row Racing shutting down, but I just feel like with that announcement, that's just going to gloom the team for the rest of the season. Like, I don't know how you're able to motivate your team back out knowing that you're going to close down at the season's end. I don't know how that's going to happen. Cole Purr do the best he can to motivate his team, but I just don't see it happening. I mean, they've had a string of bad races. They crash out at Indy and cannot... Like, he's going to be a contender. I just don't see him being that much of a front runner anymore. He was at the start of the season and heading into the midway portion of the season, but I just don't see him contending for a championship in Miami closing out the year. So that will leave Harvick, Kyle Busch, Clint Bowyer, and Brad Keselowski. Clint Bowyer, he's an under the radar driver. He's an under the radar driver. A lot of these stats, some of the stats right here, I have them on my notepad right here, but they're not relevant because the past 2 teams he's been on were were garbage. I mean, he was with H. Scott Motorsports. Last year with Stewart-Haas, he was adjusting to things. In 2018, he has had a breakout season. He has scored a top 10 in every single playoff here, except for Homestead. He has a top 10 at Phoenix, he has a top 10 at Texas, and 3 top 10s at Martinsville. In fact, he was technically the defending winner at Martinsville. He won there in the spring. So yeah, he's a good short track driver. He's an alright mile-and-a-half driver, and I think he has, and again, he's in Stewart-Haas equipment. He has been running up front majority of the season, and I think that will help him carry on to Miami. And Brad Keselowski, again, whatever happened at 2 team, they flipped the switch. They have flipped the switch. I feel like this momentum will just carry on into the playoffs. You know, him and Paul Wolf, they're just gonna find ways to strategize the race, and are able to find themselves up to the front. Again, with Indy, no one expected Brad Keselowski to be in contention for a win, and all of a sudden he's there having a shot at winning and gets the deal done at the Brickyard. He and Paul Wolf can do some great things as a crew chief and driver, can pull off some game-winning strategy moves, and I think that will be able to punch them into Miami. But in the end, it's going to be Kevin Harvick. Kevin Harvick, even though Kyle Busch has won the regular season championship, Kevin Harvick, I feel like, is just overall the better driver. Phoenix, he won last year. No, he didn't win last year at Phoenix. He won, I believe, the spring at Phoenix. He won the 2018 race here early on in the season. So yeah, I think with Phoenix in the round of 8, that's going to help him into the round of 4 at Miami, which will give him a great amount of momentum. So yeah, I expect Kevin Harvick to win the championship. He's been overall, he has been the upper hand guy. Like, Kyle Busch has had his moments, but I feel like, just if you compare the two, I feel like Kevin Harvick is just the upper hand. Busch has beaten him before, example at Texas, but I just feel like Kevin Harvick just has the upper hand this season. But it's going to be a close battle between Harvick and Kyle Busch, I do know that. But yeah, so recap. Drivers out of the round of 16: Johnson, Bowman, Blaney, and Dillon, Austin Dillon. Drivers out in the round of 12 will be Joey Logano, Eric Jones, Denny Hamlin, and Eric Almirola. Out in the round of 8 will be Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott, Kurt Busch, and Mark Truex Jr. The championship 4 will be Kevin Harvick, teammate Clint Boyer, Kyle Busch, and Brad Keselowski, with Kevin Harvick being the eventual champion. Now, what I'm going to do is, after every round, I'm going to recap the 3 races and see if my predictions were right or wrong. I'm not really excited for this championship because we have a 50%, we have a 60% chance of knowing who's gonna make it into the round of 4 or to the championship 4. But again, with these playoffs, you have no idea. I will say it's entertaining to watch because you don't know. It's very unfair, this playoff system. It's very unfair, but it is entertaining nonetheless. So yeah, Las Vegas this Sunday on NBCSN. I'm going to be excited for the truck race on Friday night. The truck race in the spring. If you haven't watched it, I highly encourage you to watch. I'm going to watch it right now. It was a fantastic race. So I'm excited for the truck race on Friday. No offense, Darian, but I dread Vegas. No offense. Unless it's run at night, I don't want NASCAR to run twice at Vegas. It's just not necessary. But whatever, we have to deal with it. We move on for it. Yeah, if you guys tell me who do you think? Give me your predictions in the comments below. Who do you think will be eliminated in the playoffs, and who will become the championship? Again, tell me that in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video and if you agree with my predictions, leave a like. Subscribe for more content here on NASCAR and MDK. Up to next time, I'm Jack Krause, and I'll see you in the next video.